going, everyone? Joe here. Welcome back to another brand new video on the channel. Now today we are going to be reviewing Comic-Con Scotland. So let's get straight into the video. First of all, I'm going to talk about the access into the con. So for those that don't know, Comic-Con Scotland was at Edinburgh Royal Highland Centre, which is located just near the airport. Or well, it's shown to be right near the airport, but as we found out, it's a little bit further away. To walk to it would be a nightmare. A lot of roads without any pedestrian walkway, so to walk from the airport, which is the closest tram station, the trams are really good in Edinburgh, to be fair. From the airport I got direct to our hotel, which was on the other side of Edinburgh, so that was good, but to actually get to the con was a bit of a nightmare. We ended up getting a tram which cost £9 each to get to the airport, but to walk it, the weather was atrocious, so I had to get a cab anyway, and the cab cost a tenner. And it's 19 quid from our hotel, so we could have just got a cab. So that was a bit annoying. Public transport wise, there was buses running to the con, but again they were in the centre of Edinburgh. Don't know how many stops they're doing or whatever, so we just avoided the hassle. So I suppose that is a good thing that the options were there. It was laid out quite well on their Facebook page, so there is that. Now I will stick some footage in here of the entrance to the con. Now this was my biggest bug, I think, of the weekend. So it's Scotland, it's October, you're expecting the weather to be stinky. And it was. The weather was awful, especially on the Saturday and Friday night. But especially on the Saturday, the first day of the con. And look at the state of this entrance. So as you can see, you're almost cattle gridded in. It was stony walkways. There was at least two times where I was walking and I almost completely stacked it, and I was wearing trainers, so I almost completely fell over. Almost fell straight into Milky a couple of times. It was a nightmare. For disabled access and stuff like that, awful, absolutely awful. For me, I'm quite a positive person in that respect. Didn't used to be. I used to be quite pessimistic, but I've kind of changed since the pandemic. But for those that aren't, it put you on a real downer at the start of the day, especially with the weather. And then as you actually come into the con after you've done your ticket, all the food stalls were around the outside of the con, all on fields, and it looked like Glastonbury, you know. It was absolutely mental. So yeah, a real funny entrance into the con. Right, that's my first negatives out the way, because that was all pretty negative. But the venue was massive, I've got to say, and obviously the main reason that we went is the variety of guests was incredible. For me, it's the first con I've gone to where there's at least 4 that I was definite wanting to go and see, and I could have easily seen 3 or 4 more, but obviously not made of cash, so unfortunately couldn't do that. But it was a really good variety. It was quite nice to be able to go, oh, I could go to them, could get them, and it's a nice situation to be in. So fair play to Monopoly, especially doing so many cons so close together. A really, really good point for me. The venue had 3 halls, so you had a main hall as you walked in, a sort of side hall that connected the 2 big halls which had the photo opportunities in. Now this is another negative, because the weather was so bad, technically you could go around the outside, but that wasn't really marked out very well, and it wasn't really made obvious that you could do that. And obviously people aren't going to do it because the weather's awful. And the only way through to this second hall was 2 double doors. It looked like trying to herd sheep for it. It was mental. It's absolutely mental. And I know it made quite a few people quite anxious. And yeah, I can understand why. But in all fairness to Monopoly, on the Sunday they did completely change the layout, so they made it more obvious. I think I spoke to a few staff members and they said the security team that they'd hired, which was G4S, I believe, it was the first time that they'd ever done a con as security. So to be fair to them, the second day they did learn a lot and they did change some stuff, but it is what it is. I still enjoyed myself regardless. The next thing on the Saturday, the queues were crazy. Absolutely crazy for the guests. I think they overbooked a lot of guests. There was no pre-booking queues or anything like that, where for the last Monopoly events I went to in Wales in August, you had a handler walking through the queue. Have you pre-booked? And if you had, you were kind of like, you weren't diamond, but you were kind of prioritised in that sense. where they did do this on the Sunday. So again, they did learn from their mistakes, but they didn't do that to start off with. So some of the queues were absolutely mental. So let's get into the main reason you are watching, and that is my autos and pickups. Now, my first auto, we queued probably 2 hours for this guest, but it was well worth it. I actually really enjoyed queuing when you're with someone else. So me and Tel queued for this guest. It's quite nice being in a queue and going, oh, we're getting a bit closer. And I do quite enjoy it. It is part of the experience. It's only stressful when you're like, well, I don't know. Once you meet that first guest, your day and weekend becomes so much better. So my first pickup is my Smeagol pop that I've been buzzing to get signed. So I did get this one personalised just so it meant a bit more. So I've got 2Joe, Andy Serkis there. Oh, and then on the side, I've started asking guests now. I say, whatever your favourite quote is from your character, please put. So he put, "Sneaky little hobbitses," which is funny because it's something that I've always said when I do an impression. So I was really happy with it. Andy Serkis was an absolute pleasure to meet. Really welcoming. Smiled, really took the time, asked stuff. Remembered my name, so he asked for my name, said my name afterwards, and then when said, "Oh, thank you, a pleasure to meet you," he said, "Oh, no problem, Joe." And that's just like a nice little touch. Stuff that you don't really expect at these events, especially because of how busy he was. Like, even at smaller cons when you kind of like rushed through it, it didn't feel like a waste of money. Where other places you feel like, oh, I could have just bought the auto online. Where the experience of meeting Andy tops the weekend for me. So that is my first pickup, and I absolutely love this pop. And I love the white paint pen. Yeah, can't say any more good things about it. Absolutely buzzing to add this to my collection. My second also from the weekend was my Cal Kestis that I got signed from Cameron Monaghan. Again, had it personalised. Got a nice blue paint pen, which he actually had. I did have one on me, but he had one. He said, "Oh, it matches the lightsaber." So again, incredible to have. Again, I asked for his favourite quote, and he wrote, "Trust in the Force," which looks sick. Yeah, again, Cameron Monaghan, the queues for him were mental. Tel made a prediction before the con and said, I think that Cameron Monaghan is going to be the surprise guest in the sense that his queues will be crazy. And it was. It was absolutely mad. I booked an auto and a photo with Cameron. And if it wasn't for Leroy Screwballs, big shout out to you, Lee, for having his diamond on Saturday, we would not have managed to get a photo because already queued once for over an hour and I was still a good couple hundred in the queue and it would never have happened. So big shout out to you, Lee. Yeah, look how cool this is. The auto on this is amazing. Cameron again was such a nice guy. Asked for a name, really took the time. And as I imagine you'll see on one of Lee's videos, Lee had a really good couple of interactions with him. And during the photo op as well, which I will show. So the next thing I've got to show you is the photo that we got with Cameron. So all three of us, myself, Tel and Leroy, met Cameron. Again, he was really nice. He recognised Lee because Lee had already got his auto at this point. He said, "Oh, hello, Lee." And it was great. He got in position to do the Force. He went, "Oh, we're doing the Force, are we?" So yeah, really cool. The photos come out really well, and yeah, really happy with it. I think after this con, I think I've changed my opinion. Usually, I would have only just got autos, but I really enjoyed getting a photo with Cameron. So I think I'm going to change up my itineraries for cons now and maybe get a photo and an auto with a guest or maybe two at a push, just so I get more personal and maybe fill this space, because my setup in here in my house since I've moved, this is a spare room in our house, so I don't want to go full nerd. I will show you what it looks like behind camera, where I've got a nice poster and I've got my pops on the wall, but I'm not really sure what to do with this space. I do quite like it. I've done the paneling myself in here. But yeah, not really sure what to do with the space, so I think either on those walls or maybe on this wall, I'll start putting some photo frames up of me meeting guests, but we shall see. The next guest that I met was on the Sunday. Now, so I split the Andy Serkis and Elijah Wood over the weekend, mainly because Andy Serkis was Saturday only and Elijah was there all weekend, and I was expecting them to be absolutely rammed, which on Saturday they were. But on the Sunday, Elijah Wood's queue was minuscule. I mean, we rocked up to the con quite late because we were hanging, me and Tal. So we rocked up quite late, walked in to the con, and Elijah Wood had about 4 people in his queue. We both stood there like, have they shut it off because he's going to do a photo op? And they hadn't. They might have meant to and they hadn't, but they had not shut his queue off. So we jumped in, and within 5 minutes of arriving at the con, both got our Frodos done. So mine, I didn't get my name on this time because this was probably the weirdest interaction I had of the weekend. He looked absolutely shattered. But to be fair, on Monopoly's Instagram, he arrived on Friday night, quite late, and then by 7 in the morning he's at the con signing autographs, and this was Sunday, so he's probably knackered. Saying that, his auto looks amazing. I really like the blue on this. He just grabbed the blue before I could give him the white pen, but I think it looks really cool. And then I asked, whatever your favourite quote from Frodo is, please put on the side, and he wrote, "I wish the ring had never come to me," which is really cool. He seemed really cool. All his photo opportunities I've seen that he's got with people look great as well. I was umming and ahhing about getting a photo, but already spent far too much money, so that was it for me. But I really love it, and it's such a huge guest for me to meet. Mainly for Green Street. I'm only joking. I do love Green Street, but yeah, that is an incredible pop. And again, another Lord of the Rings to add to the collection, and two actors that I thought I would never ever meet. So I'm really happy about that one. Again, I have mentioned this previously, but a massive shout out to Coombsy for pointing me in the right direction for paint pens and the folding process. I couldn't have taken these pops to the con without it. And look how sick those paint pens look. All of them look so good. When I've seen people with Sharpies at the con, I was just thinking, oh, you're going to regret that. I feel bad for you. But anyhow. So my next interaction and my next auto, I met Giancarlo Esposito. Now, I got it personalised to Joe, and then I asked him if he could do a quote and his signature. Now, he said to me, would you like me to write the quote as if I'm saying it to you? And I said, do whatever you feel like. And he said, I'll say it like I'm writing it to you, which I've not seen before, and I think it looks awesome. So he's put, to Joe, you have something I want, Giancarlo Esposito, as if he's saying it to me, which is fucking sick. Sorry for the fruity language, but yeah. And then he's wrote Moff Gideon on the side. So yeah, I absolutely love it. It feels really personal. It's something that I've not seen other people get, and his signature and his handwriting is brilliant. I did get this quite early again on the Sunday, and I did think that he was pretty cool. He just again looked really tired, but it was early. Later in the day though, I did go back because he was doing selfies, but they weren't necessarily asking whether you'd bought a selfie. So I re-queued and said that could I get a selfie, and he obliged. So here is the photos. Whilst you're looking at the photos, I will give a little bit of a backstory. So I cosplayed on the Sunday as a Hobbit. Giancarlo said, "What the fuck are you?" And I was knackered. This was like late in the day on the Sunday. I went, "Oh, I'm a tired Hobbit and needs a fucking beer." And he absolutely wet himself laughing. He thought it was hilarious. So Tel managed to get some really good photos of my interaction with Giancarlo, and it's one that I remember forever. So I'm really, really grateful that he let me take a selfie, and I managed to get it for free. So yeah, nice one. That's something I have got to say about Monopoly. They were really good in that respect. They were very, very laid back, and you can tell they were very appreciative that it was extremely busy, and they were doing a lot of fan service and letting people off the hook with some things. So I really appreciate it. It was a really great con. The last pickup I got, now this is starting to become a thing for me. So every con I'm going to go to, I'm going to pick up a minifig or a custom minifig. They're only cheap, and it's just something that I'm going to do at cons. So I managed to pick up this. So it's a little Frodo with the ring and Sting. Very fitting, of course, for meeting Elijah Wood. So it's a very nice little pickup. A really nice little minifig. So now I've got a couple. And it's going to be my thing, I think. I'm just going to keep them next to the pops that I get signed. So yeah, really happy with that. That is it for my pickups. A really good haul. So that's 7 things I've picked up, 6 interactions. It was brilliant. Massive shout out to all the guys that went. Tel, Milky, Leroy, Jace, A couple of my friends, Ollie and Andrew, that I've not seen for a long time. It was really great to see you guys. It was a great weekend. Cannot fault it really. Some issues, but I don't think it's Monopoly's fault. It's just they dealt with it the best they could, and it is what it is. You know, they were really good in Wales. Yeah, it is what it is. Would I go again? I think for cons in general, I think it depends on guests. So I would go again if the guests were as good as they were this time, but more of a variety. I know that a lot of these cons recycle guests, which we are starting to see a change. Showmasters have just announced Kit Harington for London, which is nuts, absolutely nuts. I know he's English, but it's the first time he's done a UK con, and he's very, very reasonably priced. So hopefully, Showmasters and Monopoly try and one up each other, and the guests keep getting better and better. It's been a great year so far for cons. I know we're almost at the end of con season, which I'm quite happy to see the end of it for the year, so I can start preparing for next year towards the summer and save some dosh. But yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really, really appreciate it. Please go and check out my Comic-Con Scotland vlog if you haven't already. I think it's quite a good video. I'm really proud of it. First time I've vlogged a con, so I'd really appreciate it if you haven't watched it, if you go and head over. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ta-da!